call your mama. Could be literal or could be just that person. A big thing happens in your life, call your mama. And then when the big home run happens in a game, you better call mama. So that's where the phrase, that's the meaning of it, and that's everything behind it.
Hi, I'm Lea B. Olsen, and I'm here for a champion's take with someone I'm proud to call my colleague and friend. At the start of her career, she was one of the very few female broadcasters. Now her knowledge and humor have made her one of the most widely recognized faces and voices in Minnesota sports. An award-winning, groundbreaking professional who's at home in any broadcast booth, including the Lynx, Timberwolves, and the Twins. Better call mama, because Marney Gellner is in the building.
You made me blush, and we haven't even started.
Hello, Marney Gellner.
Hi, girl.
It's always good to see you. So I'm excited about this conversation because it is going to be like a deeper dive into a little bit who you are, where you came from, and just kind of some of the lessons that you have learned throughout your life and career.
Okay.
So let's take it back to the beginning. I'm curious to hear a little bit about just growing up and what was it like to have a small town community, and how did that kind of prepare you for some of the things you're doing now?
Well, let's see. Growing up was just, it's so nostalgic. I don't know if we all just think about our childhoods as this storybook, but I feel like mine kind of was. It wasn't perfect, but I have nothing but really good memories. I'm born and raised in North Dakota, grew up mostly in Minot. I don't think I had any idea how important North Dakota was to me until I became an adult, and for sure until I moved out of the state of North Dakota, which I didn't do until my late 20s.
Okay.
And then it was the longing for that again, the longing for the community and the big open sky and wheat fields and my grandma and grandpa and my mom and dad and my brothers. And so I just feel like it's, growing up in North Dakota shaped every part of me. It's as important as anything in my life.
And when you talk about how important it is to you, is that foundation, is it about the people, the community, the small town, the support, or kind of a mix of all of these things?
Yes, 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 and yes. It's impossible to separate one from the other because they all just roll into each other, and they all have the same kind of ties and community, and they all give me the same feelings in my heart. I know it sounds so gushy, but it's so true.
It's real.
And even now, I've lived in the Twin Cities for 20 years, and I still crave going home. Like, as soon as I see the Welcome to North Dakota sign, it's like, this is gonna be a good weekend.
Let's talk about some of those influences in your life. I don't know if it was, people you worked with, family members, that really kind of has changed the person you are today, has helped build that foundation. Who were those, I don't want to say heroes, but the people that you really looked up to?
The one that is the constant and the forever is my mom. I mean, it is true for a lot of people, but in my case, I didn't know it or realize it at the time I was growing up, but my mom was a teacher. She was mostly a middle school teacher, 7th grade. She bounced around a little bit, but she was the decision maker in the family too. She was kind of like the leader of our household, not in a firm and ruling way, but more as a, I'll be in charge. Yep, you have a problem, come to me. Yep, I'll like, she was the point person, as are a lot of moms. But my mom as a teacher was the teacher who did all the extra committees, and she was on the committee to form what the reading requirements would be for 7th graders in the entire state of North Dakota. And she would take on summer classes to be part of that because she wanted to be not just a teacher, but the best teacher and the one that influences the most. And what else do you need from me? And how else can I help? And how else can I be an influence? My mom got her master's degree in the 80s when it was not a common thing. It was a brand new sort of project. She went to Minot State University after teaching. And I remember distinctly doing homework together with her. She was getting her master's degree and I'm in high school probably at the time. and we're sitting at the table with the lamp and chit-chatting about our day or whatever and taking care of our business. And at the time, it was just like, yeah, it's my mom. She's real busy. She's doing things. And then looking back, it's like, wow, with 3 kids at home, working a full-time job. And my dad was there too. I don't mean like she was doing this on her own, but to take that on and to then be as successful as she was, it just, now when I look back on it, I'm like, that was my person. That was my, if you can see it, you can be it.
Yes.
That was my mom. And she's a huge cheerleader for all of her kids, and I still talk to her, twice a week on the phone, and she's still such an important person in my life. But she has been the one that, if there's a person I looked up to my entire life, it's my mom.
Well, that's so interesting hearing you talk about her, because it makes me think of my mom, because I actually have the exact same memory. My mom got her GED, her college education, and her master's while we were all, well, she had 6 kids, and we'd all be around her. We didn't know she was studying. We were just running around playing, and she would be sitting there studying, making dinner, doing all these things for us. But I think now, later in life, realizing like that foundation, that base, it just allows you to approach the world differently, because you're supported and you were just raised just so fully. That's it. Because she never had to say, look what I'm doing. Look at me working hard.
Yes. She just did, and we saw it, and we absorbed it.
Yep. That's really cool. Okay, so let's talk about you moving into your career. So when did we identify, you were the athlete, you played a lot of sports, but when did you identify, oh, I want to try to carry this career into a sports career in broadcasting?
Not very early. It was not a goal. It was not my dream. It was something that I fell into, and I kind of feel like I'm still falling into. It seems to be working out. But I can remember being a kid in Minot, and we played backyard football all the time. And my younger brother, who's 4 years younger than me, would always take a washcloth from the kitchen and put it in his back pocket, and he'd run out to the games because he wanted to officiate and do play-by-play. And so he'd get his voice real high, and he'd be like, Rob Geller's gonna take the penalty! And he'd throw out, he was so dramatic, and he just wanted to be, his voice all over, and I'm like, God, this kid is weird. And he wanted to be a play-by-play broadcaster in sports. And we didn't even realize it, and that's what he was doing in our backyard football games growing up in Minot. I just wanted to be somehow in entertainment. I wanted to, this will shock you, but I like being in front of people.
What?
I like to entertain or make people laugh or whatever that looks like. And I was just infatuated with Saturday Night Live. And this was in high school, and so early 90s, I'm class of 92, so it was like the Molly Shannon, Will Ferrell, Sherry O'Terry, Chris Farley, like that SNL. I was just fascinated. I would record it on my VHS tape, I would play it back, I would memorize the skits, I would do the skits on Monday morning, and everyone would be so annoyed. But that's what I did, and so if I was dreaming of what would I want to be in my life, well, that's what I was dreaming about. I was dreaming about being a character on Saturday Night Live. I had a little notebook with, this teacher's quirky, I'll make a character out of that. It was terrible ideas that I did nothing with. I just expected, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? No. Okay. Oh, I have to get a job. Okay. Well, I had to intern at a TV station, so I interned at KXMB TV 12, your eye on Dakota.
Got it.
And before I graduated, the weekend sports anchor left and took another job, so that job was open. I was already interning there. They were like, hey, why don't you interview for this job? I did. I got the job. That's how it started in sports broadcasting. Not because I had this vision and I'm going for it. It was like right place, right time. And it was good, and I liked it. And then I got another job in that area and another job in that area, and I am still working in that area. And it's been awesome.
What job was it where you realized, wait, I have like the gift of gab, and I'm good at this, and I can move a show, and I can bring my natural self to the camera? Like, was it early on, or did that just grow as you moved up?
That was basically birth, Lea. I'm sorry if that sounds super arrogant, but
that gift
has been there forever. That gift, yes. I don't think I knew how to use that gift in this business. And actually for a long time, I really downplayed it because it was very serious. My first 3 jobs were at news stations, TV news.
Yes.
And news, weather, sports in that order. And there's some lightheartedness to sports, but overall, it's a very polished, suits, professional, and sit at the desk and put your hands like this. So there wasn't a lot of room for laughter and free flow. It wasn't until later in my career, and especially when I started doing some radio work, that I could really let it fly. So it took me a while to figure out how to use my personality and still be professional and businesslike. And that's still kind of an ongoing balance.
When we introduced you, we talked about, groundbreaking, and you've been able to do some things that no other woman has done before. Okay, we'll start with the Twins. You were the first woman to do play-by-play for the Minnesota Twins, MLB. That's correct. Were you able to sit in that spot and just be like, this is just me, Marney Gellner, doing this? Or was there this pressure to think, I'm the first woman, I have to do it a certain way? How did that feel for you?
There was pressure that I put on myself to do a really good job, at least the best of my ability, because it was so important to me. It was important to me because I grew up as a Twins fan. We watched games. We took trips, family trips from Minot to the Twin Cities to watch Twins games. That was a big deal in the 80s and 90s to do that.
Yep.
And so that was the team that had the deepest roots for me. So when they said, we want you to do play-by-play, and I knew that I would be the first woman. I wanted to do right by them. And I wanted to prove to myself that I could do baseball on that level. So I did put that pressure on myself, and I worked really hard in my prep work and to try to get there. But I also wanted to acknowledge the people that said, we want to do an interview. Can we take a photo? Can we, I was so proud to be that person as well, but I didn't want to overplay it. So there was a lot going on of acknowledging it, being in the moment, getting past it, and also wanting to get to the point where this is not a first anymore. Let's get to the point where we're just saying, Marney's calling Twins games, not Marney, the woman, is calling Twins games. That's where I want to get, but I also want to appreciate the barrier and getting past that. And now let's all just go, okay, well, we can move on.
So let's take it back to your big call with the Twins. How did it go?
Okay. I had never called baseball before, and I wanted to have a home run call because I just wanted one moment to go, I snuck that in. I don't know if I'll ever do this again. The call had a few iterations as I worked through it in my head. And at the time, Better Call Saul was a big TV show. It was pretty popular. And I thought the alliteration is good. It's simple. It's stamped. So I went with Better Call Mama. A big moment in baseball is a home run. And what happens when you have a big moment in your life? When something happens to you in your life, what do? What I do is I call my mom. And I can't wait to share it with her. And I have kids. And when something big happens to them, let's face it, they text me. But it's the same philosophy of I want to share it with that person that means so much to me in my life. That's my mom. And I hope to my kids, I'm that person for them as well. And I even took it as far as to think some people aren't lucky enough to have their moms. So maybe it's your grandma, it's your dad, it's your brother, it's your best friend, whoever that person is, mama stands for that. So call your mama, could be literal or could be just that person. A big thing happens in your life, call your mama. And then when the big home run happens in a game, you better call mama. So that's where the phrase, that's the meaning of it, and that's everything behind it.
And when you did it and you said it, did it just flow and roll? And
when I did it in spring training, there were 3 games that I called in the first 2 games, there was not a single Twins home run. So we got to that 3rd game, and I'm working with Dan Gladden, and he knows about this call, and he's excited for me to be able to do this, and he's like, I mean, you got to let it rip. And then there were 3 home runs in that game. And so the first one, I could hardly wait to get it out of my mouth because I thought this might be it. So I blurted it out and I cleaned it up a little bit for the next one. And then I didn't get to use it again until, 5 years later when the Twins asked me to call the regular season games. And I made sure I exclamation pointed it. And it was interesting because on the way to the game, what I did was I called my mom. And I was like,
it.
I'm on my way to the game. She was like, oh, good. How do you feel? And then we talked about the weather. And it didn't even dawn on me that that's exactly what I did, because I was about to
Yeah.
do something in my career that I was excited about and I was proud of. And I didn't want to shout it to the world, but I wanted to tell my mom.
Love it.
And then Soda Stick made T-shirts, and it was adorable. They had like the headset for play-by-play and like the cord, and then they had something from Better Call Saul, like an hourglass, I want to say, or something that is familiar with that show, so they tied that in. But it says Better Call Mama, and they made T-shirts of it. And my mom and dad bought T-shirts from Soda Stick, took a selfie, which has half of their heads cut off, and sent it to me. And I, again, of course, burst out crying. But it was the sweetest thing.
And I love that the twins recognized the moment in itself. Tell us about what they did after the broadcast.
Yeah, it was really cool. They gave me 2 baseballs from the game, and they were already in Ziploc bags with labels on them that had the score, the inning, the hitter, the count. Carlos Correa came out and he shook my hand and he said, that was awesome. That was a really cool call. And to me, that just meant so much to have his respect and acknowledgement. And we talked for a few minutes, and I'm so appreciative of the twins allowing the moment and not overblowing the moment, but acknowledging it and letting people to whom that is important take it in for a minute and kind of put it on a stage for just a second.
Yeah, that's real. Like, the one thing I noticed with you is that you resonate with so many people, but so many different people. You did something maybe they always wanted to do or never thought they could do. I feel like that's what makes you so special, is that, like, it's this very unique feeling of like, wow, she's a normal, everyday person, but doing something really, really big and difficult to do. How do you feel about the people you meet and greet, and some of the people who like are so excited to meet you?
It feels strange, because when you said you're so normal, I truly feel, I mean, you know me, I live a really calm, boring, awesome life. There's just not a lot of drama. There's just not a lot going on. I'm very into my kids and their activities, and so I kind of step
concerts
and concerts, yeah. So I feel like I kind of step in and out of this world, yet it's all very normal to me. But I do go in and out of this, and it's when I meet people at games that will say things that kind of shake me again, like, oh yeah, that's right. And I do have several women who say to me, I always wanted to do what you're doing. And either I didn't know how, I didn't have a chance, there weren't any jobs, and it'll be women like in their 60s, and it really hits me like it was not that long ago that this was an extremely difficult career to crack into and extremely limited availability. It's exploded now.
Yep.
It's on a totally different level, but when I started, it wasn't. And I forget that sometimes, or forget how truly special it is, because it feels kind of gross to go there and be like, I am doing this, aren't I?
Yeah.
There's just not really time to do that, and it doesn't feel good to do that. But to be able to talk to someone and just look at them and go, I wish you would have had the chance. I know. And for her to say to me, I'm so glad you got the chance. Like, girl, give me a hug. Thank you. I appreciate that support.
Yeah.
It's a weird world to live in, though. And even when you ask the question, I'm like, I know it's true, but
it's pretty amazing to
watch.
watch. Yeah. So now that you've made it in your career and you're starting to get some paychecks that are fun to get, tell us a little bit about, like, did you learn about finances growing up? Was that something you talked about in your family or school or anywhere? How did you kind of find your financial grounding?
That's really interesting and really important, because no, I did not learn about finances growing up. There should be a required high school class. There should be a required college class, and it could be just basics. I mean, I knew you should save money. What does that really look like? And is it just a savings account at the bank? I didn't really learn about money until easily my 30s. Also, I didn't have money other than, a very low paycheck. It is such a misunderstanding that this business is super lucrative. You can get there, yes, after a lot of work and a lot of jobs and a lot of nights and weekends and holidays. Not trying to bring the room down, but it is a big misconception that anyone who works in TV makes a ton of money. My first job was $13,000 a year.
Yep.
I remember finally at age 30 making $30,000 and thinking, I'm making my age. I didn't think I'd get there. So that's not a lot of money to navigate, first-time homeowner, buying a car. So I rented, I had used cars. The biggest thing in my life that happened was I don't know why or how nobody told me this, but I lived below my means. I didn't spend everything I had. I didn't save a ton. I wish I could have done it a little differently, but I didn't spend it all. So that gave me enough of a cushion to just be able to be sort of responsible. And then when I met my husband and we got engaged and we knew what we'd be spending, our future together, he's a super dollars and cents guy. He's a spreadsheet guy. He's a stock market guy. Things he would talk about, I had never even heard before. He opened a whole new world for me.
I love it.
So I had a little bit of a basis. And so Matt, my husband Matt, who was an accounting major, but runs an ice arena for a job, was really the person that taught me everything I know and invested for us and did, stocks for our kids and all, but it did not exist when I grew up and came into it. And I guess maybe kind of a blessing. I didn't make a ton of money because I have no idea what I would have done with it. It certainly wouldn't have been super smart, but I had to be smart because I didn't have much money.
Yeah, I always grew up, I knew nothing on that either. The only thing my mom ever told us was it's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. So it was that same concept of you can make 20,000, just don't spend 20,000, you know? And so really trying to put some money away, but then the investing piece, we didn't, knowing about stocks and bonds and all that stuff, that all came later in life. Thank you, Matt.
Yes. Matt loves this place too. They're saying, thank you, Matt.
So with that, let's talk about your relationship with Bell Bank and take us back to the beginning of you guys connecting, and it's such a perfect match, but how did it come to be?
It is a perfect match, and it kind of came together in a perfect way too. I was working a Timberwolves game, and it had to be a good 10 years ago, and one of my grade school friends, Kurt Scary, he was sitting courtside at a Timberwolves game, and I just didn't expect to see him, and I was like, oh my gosh, Kurt! And I gave him a big hug, and he was like, I want to introduce you to my friend. This is Mike Solberg. And I said, oh, hi, nice to meet you, Mike. And we chit-chatted for a minute. And then eventually, evolving along the way, Mike Solberg would ask me to be a Bell Bank champion. And it's perfect in so many ways because of Bell Bank's roots in North Dakota and in Fargo, and because of Mike having a deep friendship with someone I have a deep friendship with. So the champion piece fits perfectly, but also I finally started to make money in my mind. I finally started to make enough money where we're legitimately investing. We're legitimately expanding a portfolio. And we opened a second financial portfolio with Bell Bank, and we used Tyler Swanson, and just sitting in on these meetings of you have this, and it can go here, and we didn't have those options. And then we started to, and a lot of it was because we had been doing it for 20 years. So then it opened a new window because we had saved and that had built up, and now we have that as a cushion to stand on. And so the Bell Bank piece came along at the perfect time when we needed somewhere and someone to help us, because we had gotten phase one. We did phase one. We got there. We merked the daycare and all of that. And now it was okay, now what do we do? What is phase two? It's hard to think ahead unless you have a husband who does a 15-year spreadsheet. And so every year you just click one off and you move into the next. I am
You are so lucky.
Question mark. to have a husband who does a 15-year spreadsheet. So there's a plan, but there's also, we're just two human beings. We needed help and professional help and guidance. And so we do all of our banking with Bell Bank. We do all of our investments with Bell Bank. It's just been a really nice piece at the right time to be like, okay, we got you. Come on.
So I watched you do various things with Bell Bank, but let's talk about the promotion that you received a check for today. If you can just kind of tell us how that came to be, because that one seemed to be extra special, kind of really nice connection.
Yes. The promotion itself was really unique and really fun because I've never had a beer named after myself. I mean, that in itself is awesome. And I got to go to Drecker Brewery in Fargo and actually, stir the hops and shovel some of the ingredients into this massive tub and be part of the brewing process for my beer. When they asked me to do that, I just couldn't even believe it was a real thing. And I thought they would just, it'd be all done and they'd be like, oh, here, we made this. I got to make it. So to
cool.
be part of that just unique promotion was something I would assume I will never do again in my life.
Hey, see you at Drecker. Cheers.
Cheers, Mark.
So I love that piece of it. The second piece was the sales from this are going to benefit a charity. What charity would you like? Well, a couple of years ago, went through breast cancer. And I was lucky enough that it was found very early. And while what I went through was not fun and it was tough, I was super lucky. I didn't need chemotherapy and my life was not in question. But I had to get multiple surgeries and I had to go through, a little bit to get to this place.
Yep.
Well, I met a woman in Chaska, which was where I live, who has her own foundation called vraniCURE. Her last name is vraniCURE, Jackie vraniCURE, and her foundation is vraniCURE, and she is raising money for women who are not as lucky as me, and their breast cancer is advanced, it's metastatic. And Jackie has 4 kids, and she is one of these women who is living with metastatic breast cancer. And so when Bell Bank said, we are going to donate proceeds from your beer and this fun little campaign to a charity, I said, vraniCURE.
Yeah, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that with us. Okay, so let's talk about the here and now and what's next. You're doing Timberwolves, you're doing Twins still, you're doing a little bit of anything. Is there any other projects we should know about, or what's new and interesting with Marney Gellner, or anything to share?
Yeah, it's kind of rinse and repeat
right now. Yep.
But, well, the Twins asked me to do another series this summer, so I'm hoping that that all falls into place. And Lynx basketball again. The explosion of women's basketball is something that we've never seen before. And you and I work Lynx games, and we're watching it in some of these games, and the crowds and the frenzy and the around Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and we've been doing this for so long. It is massively noticeable that there is a difference, and I love being in the middle of it and part of it. And there have been so many games where I just paused, took it in, took a breath, looked around and thought, wow, we weren't sure we would ever see this. And it is this rise that has been so welcomed, and it's a frenzy.
Yeah,
it's a frenzy,
cool.
and it's gonna be that way again this summer.
What would you say, I don't know if you have this, but do you have like a mantra or a motto or something that just the way you live your life would be?
I mean, it's not official. I haven't trademarked anything. I feel like I'm trying to do good and be good. And that's it. Full stop. Because it applies to everything. It applies to my job. It applies to my family. It applies to going to Target. Like, just treating people well. And I talk to my kids about that all the time. That's really what I'm trying to do, is raise 2 more humans to put into this world who are going to do good and be good. That's what I want. Do I want to call more games and win this award and elevate my career? Yes, yes, and yes. But mostly what I want to do is live a life that fulfills me, because I have a job that I enjoy and I have a family that I enjoy even more. And we'll put 2 more human beings out into the world that I can say I am really proud. Not just that they're my kids, but that they're doing good and being good in this world. It applies to everything you're doing. Just never forget that part of it.
That's huge. Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations about that.
It's true.
It's very true. So so these are more just fun questions for you. Getting to know you. Favorite movie?
A League of Their Own.
Oh.
A League of Their Own.
That's
There's no crying in baseball, et cetera, et cetera. It's because it came out in, I want to say 92, 91 or 92, and I was deep into my summer softball career and about to play a little college softball, and just that women doing things that men were doing. Oh, the theme! All-time favorite movie.
When you were talking about wanting to be on Saturday Night Live, and I think about, I can't decide, are you Tina Fey or are you Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
Well, thank you for that,
You're
Lea.
both to me, like.
Oh, well, there have been several people who have told me I remind them of Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's that I'm shorter, I have brown hair, I don't know. I'm hilarious. I don't know what it is. But my all-time favorite, without a doubt, hands down, is Molly Shannon.
Okay.
Her Mary Catherine Gallagher character with the, I'm nervous.
Yes,
and that's my all-time favorite sketch. She just hits me in the right spot. There are people that just do things and it's just like a gesture or a face.
It is.
And it cracks you up. That's Molly Shannon for me.
Gotcha. You're walking into Target Center, coming down the locker room area. What song is playing? What's the walk-in song?
Oh, my walk-in
Your
song?
walk-in song.
Oh, man. Maybe Kerosene by Miranda Lambert, because it's like boom, 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 boom. And it's got a badass kind of vibe to it and motto. So yeah, probably that. Or Suds in the Bucket by Sarah Evans, just because I love that song.
All right.
And it always makes me, you have no idea what I'm talking about. That's one of our rare differences is the music.
I love your country music mix, and there's like a few little things I know here and there, and I know that if Dolly Parton was in the room, we would both go running to her, because I love Dolly Parton. So that...
We are here.
Okay,
yes,
we're there on that. Okay.
One.
So I know you're not
Dolly would love us.
Wouldn't she just love to hang out with us? Please, Dolly Parton.
Dolly would love us.
Lastly, let's see. Is there anything that you think people don't know about you that do you think maybe they should know, or maybe something people you think about you that isn't true?
I think people might be surprised to know I have a really, really thin skin. I am an empath, and so I cry at everything, movie trailers. So I watched a space shuttle launch this morning and I was bawling just because it just felt emotional. I don't know. But I have thin skin with words, social media, Twitter, comments, whatever. I think there are a lot of people who are like that. You could read 100 things of somebody saying, you're doing a great job, and the one goes, you suck. And that's all you remember. And I probably need to work on that a little bit more, but I'm really thin-skinned, and it's not a great characteristic for someone who works a public job. So I'll work on that, but you know the feeling.
I know the feeling, yes. Marney, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for giving us all your information and sharing your story with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for the great conversation. Anytime I get to sit and talk and spend time with you is a good day.
Well, let's do it again soon.
Okay.
And we look forward to more coming up on our Champions Takes with all our Bell Bank champions.
You're welcome.